So when you've joined the gearbox and the engine, you need to put this cover on. So it's quite a substantial bit of cast aluminium, looks like. So that goes underneath the car. See in here, if you take it off, we can see the back of the flywheel. Goes on here, supports the engine as well. So this is the number of bolts need to go in here. You've got different lengths of bolts. There's the short one, which is here. You have two which are the same. So I'm going to say that these ones are the same. So they're going, yeah, they're going like that. You have a long one, so I'm thinking that's there. And you have a medium, next one that's there. And that looks about the same. So these two are the same. This is the short one, medium one, and a long one. So, and then you have these two bolts here, which are the thick ones that go in like that. So that's what I'm going to do, put underneath there and bolt the thing up. But it's 10 mils, and that looks like a 17 mil. So we'll just bolt them up. One of the common leaking points on the B series engine is these rubber O-rings. This is for the connecting shaft, and this goes from one side, which is next to the water pump, which is down here. Can't quite see it. It's there, next to the, you see that? Water pump. And it goes to the other side, which is thermostat. So you pull this out here, the rubber O-rings, and I bought these new from Honda, and that's the part number there, 91314-PH7-003, really common. You need two of them, one for each side, and then just snug them in, and away you go. But it's definitely worth doing because it's going to leak. One of the pipes on the connection pipe on the back of the metal pipe you saw before is not used, so we're going to use a blanking device here. So it's just some rubber tube with a bolt on it, Jubilee clip to hold the bolt in, and then another Jubilee clip here. So we can just shove that on the back here. There we go. And then just do this up, and if I explain the rest of these pipings. So this one comes from the connection pipe out here. This bit of metal, I guess it's kind of some kind of heat exchanger, but this goes into the bulkhead, so that's for the heater. This is the heater outlet, if you like, and this is the heater inlet. So this is, you see the arrow there, and that controls the flow of the water. So that's inside the cabin, you have those controls. And then it comes out here, goes to the side of the engine, you see here, just there, and that completes the loop for the heating element. And then for the radiator, not all the pipes are in yet, but one of the pipes here, this is for the lower radiator, goes from the thermostat here, and that goes to the lower radiator part, and then this is the upper radiator part, goes from the top here to here. We're going to put the radiator in. We need to cut one of these hoses, so I'll show you that later. Right, so I'm going to put the throttle bodies in, and what you notice is I've already got the gasket in there, and already got the studs just threaded in hand tight, so I can take these bolts off here. Chuck them in there for now. You also notice I have these dowels in here, and they locate. So the dowels actually have in the block one more bolt, and we can just chuck them in. So the gasket's already in. Like so, and then grab the bolts. Just put a couple in for now, hold them in. There's actually 10 bolts in total. Okay, there they are, and then I just need to connect up all the pipes, which I'll show you after I've finished putting all these 10 bolts in. Here I'm just putting the water outlet here, which comes from the inlet manifold. From there, and then round here, just place it in the right place. So almost finished wiring this up. One thing that's worth noting, on the 91 Civic or Civics this generation, you have this on the firewall. This is for manifold absolute pressure, so you want to get a line going to your inlet there. Then we have an idle air control valve, and that's would be sometimes be underneath here on the inlet manifold, but we're not using that. And we've got a purge control solenoid, which is here, and again I'm not going to use it, I'm just going to leave it connected, but I'm not actually going to use it. And then finally it's this strange sensor here. This is from the inlet manifold in D16A9. This is actually a temperature sensor, so I'm just going to put it approximately here. This is where the air is coming in. I've got no other ports that I can particularly use for it, so that's where it's going for now. Now the drive shafts are obviously in from before, we can put the gearbox all in. The easiest way of doing it is by taking the Speedo VSS sensor off. The way that Honda want you to do it is just spray it in with a little jet on a handheld thing. That's a pain in the arse. So instead you get your MTF3 transmission fluid. You need about 2 litres of this. I think it might be 2.1 litres. I'll confirm that. Get the funnel, take the VSS off with the 10mm bolt that's there. Okay, and then just put the funnel down there, pour it in. Jobs are good, and the VSS back in. Not to drag any of this other stuff that's around, place in at the same time. Put it in the right place. Get your 10mm bolt. Just chuck it back in. That's it. Get it threaded up by hand. Let's come in with the 10mm on the extension. You're done. Do that. So breaking in the engine, there's many different theories on how to do this, but the oil I'm going to use is just mineral oil. It's 15W40 Halford's cheap stuff, and then I've got the just the normal oil filter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run it for a few hundred miles, just running it normally, not pissing around and driving it too slow, not going into VTEC and ragging it, somewhere in between. And then I'm going to change that all out again. I'm going to get a new oil filter, new oil, which is the same stuff, this mineral oil, and then we're going to fill up with the proper oil after we've done that. So we're really just going to bed it in with the cheap oil and then put the proper oil in afterwards. Okay, so now I'm going to connect up the fuel lines. You'll notice here we've got the PTFE tape here and here. Just roll it round and then snip it with some scissors, otherwise it will tend to pinch and stuff. Got some on there on the OEM fuel feed. It's my fuel filter assembly. I'll probably get a nicer inline one, but for now I'm going to go for the AN8 line here. I've got a converter which is male AN8 to whatever this is. I think it's some kind of NPT thread. I forget, maybe I'll put it online when I remember again. So then I can just connect this up. This should thread up. It wants to be over like that. Okay. So just threading up the AN8 line. Check that it's on right. Should be loose enough. Then go ahead and thread it. Get it started, and then we can use the spanner to go, but it should be loose enough really. So just because I've got the PTFE tape, it's a bit stiffer, but at least it means it will seal. So I'll use the spanner on that. Pause there. When you're using this type of aluminium connection, you really just want to use the aluminium spanners. You can buy sets for these. This is just tighten this on here, just so you don't mark the hell out of it. I mean, you will take some of the colour off it, but you notice that steel ones, they tend to really bend up the corners, and you'll just mash it up. You don't do that. Then this is a 14 head. So you just have to get in there with an open end and just wind it on. This would usually be attached to the firewall, but this is originally a carburetor car. It didn't even have fuel injection, let alone anything else. So we've already got in the tank, it's worth talking about the fuel tank, we've got a 1.6, happens to be CRX fuel tank, and we've got a 255 litre per hour fuel pump in the tank already, so it can handle it. So before anyone says we haven't got the fuel capacity to do this, we have. So there you go. This is the fuel pressure regulator. This is actually an adjustable one made by Tomai, and it's got a gauge down there which reads the pressure. I'm going to have to get a mirror or something and look at that, because I haven't really got space to run it up like that. Either way, it's just for setting. You adjust this nut at the bottom here. Show that. You adjust the nut and it adjusts the pressure, but also it's a rising rate, so it has takes a signal, physical signal of the manifold pressure. That's why I'm running that into there. Radiator in. This is the standard D16 radiator. Probably upgrade for a multi-core radiator in the future, but anyway, this is why we did the wrapping. So look at the fan shroud, is very close to it. I might still have to cut that back a bit or get some more insulation. We cut 1 centimetre out of this bottom pipe. I'm having to kind of move that away from the gear shift a bit because it's getting close, so we'll have to see how that goes, but that seems to be okay. And then we've got the standard pipe here, and this I think we need to remove some out of this as well, because when this is on here like so, this is way too long, so I think I'm going to cut it to about here, that point here, and then it'll be nice and just be able to button the whole thing up. A video about clutch cables. So this is the standard Civic CRX clutch cable. That's the length, that's the ends and stuff, and this is the one from the States. Now you might be asking, why have I got one from the States? It's because with this Passport kit, with the hydro to cable clutch conversion, it's actually made for cars from the States. So they're obviously sitting on this side of the car, the clutch cable goes through here on the firewall, whereas mine goes through here, but they would have a very long clutch cable which has some give. If you try it with the standard cable, you're about 2 inches too short, which is very annoying, but so I've had to buy a new cable. So putting it in is really simple. Basically just grab the cable and so place it in there. The clutch cable goes in the back, so just kind of route it through. So I guess anywhere here is good, like so. Now the problem is this is going to be quite long, but whatever, I'll just stick that in there like that. So then we can wind this cable in. So the first thing you want to do is make it really long, so you just wind this little collar up to the max. You can adjust it afterwards. So wind that up like that, and then you can just place this in here. So you need to get this bit here in there, so just go put it in. You see this collar bit has a little way of locating itself, so I can just, quite difficult to do with one hand, but to chuck that in there like so, and then you want to get this on here inside there. So again, make it as long as possible, and just dunk it in right up. There we go. It's ridiculously long now, and then just kind of post it in here. It's really difficult with one hand, but here we go. So yeah, with 2 hands you can get it in. See, it's actually in there now. You want to make sure that that little bung thing comes up there. You can just see it's difficult to not space this engine bay. If you've got small hands you can do it. Anyway, so that's in there like that. Hopefully you can see that. Let's just zoom in. So we have this little bung thing, which is there you go, see sitting in there, pan out, and this thing is in here. Obviously you have to tighten that down at some point, but now I need to go inside the car and then put the other side in, because that needs to go where the clutch pedal is. So this side, it's going to be really difficult to see inside the car, but that loops next to the clutch cable. This cable's really long, I'm going to have to put it behind here or something. This is a no tuck wire engine bay or anything like that, so that's how it is.